All right, it's time to talk about a craftsman's mindset. This is the pursuit of rare and valuable skills. At this point in time, you've listed out the questions you want to answer and potentially have an idea of what skills might be necessary to develop the answer for those questions. If you get proficient at these skills, you will eventually become passionate in what you are doing because you're competent. This then leads to hopefully the desired job. That's sort of the blueprint we're laying out here. Now, as a quick aside, sort of for physical therapy and the idea of passion, this is where some of that wisdom from older PTs actually was probably true, even though we weren't wanting to hear it. My mentors used to tell me to practice for 10 years, then figure out what you want to do in the field. And it sounded like a terrible concept, but looking at books like So Good They Can't Ignore You, it kind of makes sense. However, there's a flaw in just telling someone to work for 10 years. That's assuming that they are developing skill sets during those 10 years. I've seen plenty of people who are practicing the exact same after 5 and 10 years. Well, guess what? They didn't develop a skill set, and they're not passionate about their jobs because of it now. What skill sets should you be focusing on? Well, there are two types of sort of markets that Cal describes in his book. There's a winner-take-all market and a auction market. And these markets are what different jobs are going to exist within. You might have a job that exists in a winner-take-all or an auction market. A winner-take-all market is something like a musician or a writer or a YouTuber. A musician in an orchestra, there's first chair. There's a defining skill set that is sort of the gatekeeper to be successful in that field. If you're in a winner-take-all market, then just get really good at the specific skill set. But remember, Tim Ferriss said, mastering a skill set does not mean perfecting. Be smart about it. Figure out what the 20% you need to know will help produce that 80% of success. This market is important to understand the good to great concept of return on luck also. Luck is when hard work and preparation meet opportunity. Do the right thing long enough and you will find luck. Then take advantage of it. It's about being ready for luck. Luck is going to be happening for all of us, but you want to have the skill sets and the preparedness to be able to respond for when that lucky break happens so that you can actually maximize it. Then we have the other side of it, which is the auction market. This is pretty much every other type of career that we can think about out there. You don't necessarily have to have an individual skill set required to perform it. It's more about developing interesting combinations of skills. For instance, Jimmy McKay. Jimmy McKay of PT Pintcast is a great example of someone who utilized multiple skill sets to create a career. He leveraged his previous skill set from radio and the communication skills he developed there with his newfound physical therapy skill set to create a very successful podcast. And that's a great example of an auction market type of role, combining skill sets. You could say that PhysioNexus is a business developing in this auction market. We've got physical therapy expertise, but we also have developing skills in marketing, online education, community development, etc. Well, so what are some general skills that can be very beneficial for anyone in the auction market? Well, marketing, networking, publication, being tech savvy or being someone who could develop websites, video production, design concepts, any sort of design, whether it's UI, UX, or physical apparel, video editing, public speaking, negotiations, statistics, AI understanding. AI is becoming incredibly important in a lot of creator spaces, and coding in general. Synergizing these skill sets is going to create rare and valuable skill sets. And the more you can develop rare and valuable skill sets, the more potential for autonomy. Because here's the thing, autonomy only benefits you, not the market. So it's not the market's interest to give you autonomy. This is why it's hard to find autonomy in sort of large corporations. This isn't to say that those companies are bad to work for or that you can't find autonomy within one. It's just that it doesn't benefit the company for you to have autonomy. But the reason you can have autonomy is if you have rare and valuable skill sets is because you have negotiating power and leverage. Autonomy is not a right. So with leverage, you can now attain it. This is why you might have to put in a lot of extra work early on in your career. This is the tricky part about being a physical therapist, actually. I know that everyone has a lot of debt and you have spent a lot of time thus far getting your degree, but the unfortunate reality is that you haven't actually developed any skill within the field. You're very green. So that means it's very hard to get a cushy job that pays well and that gives you a lot of free time. This is why it's important to find a job that's going to teach you new skills right off the bat. Also, it's a good reason as to why you might want to change jobs occasionally in order to gain new skills. If your current role has gone stagnant, find a new role that has new skill sets that you want to develop. See, I had a missed opportunity early on in my career. I was promoted to clinical manager with my company, and I squandered the opportunity. I focused probably all of my effort on my staff communication, but I was already decent at that, and I knew everyone at my clinic. What I should have done is leverage that opportunity to bolster my marketing skill set. I could have gone out and learned a ton from our marketing team, and I could have harnessed that skill set later on in my life. All right, the activity here for this section is if you already know what career you want, then what's the market that it's in? What skills do you technically need for that career? Are you currently pursuing them? If you actually did an analysis of those skills and you broke them down, what's the 20% of that that's most impactful, right? Are you unfocused in your learning, for instance, and you're kind of trying to learn it all, or are you focusing in on that 20%? We're going to get much more into sort of learning process later on. And also, if you don't have a career in mind, that's okay. Focus on your problems, the problems that interest you most, and start learning those and figuring out what you want to do within those, because a career might open up. We're going to talk about that next.